Good morning. Today we're looking at Genesis chapter 4. And in the book of Genesis, from these chapters 3 to 4, we're going to see a huge jump in time. And we'll see this throughout Genesis because this is the redemptive history, not the complete, every detail history of God's people, but a redemptive history. It's attempting to give us the story of fall, or creation, fall, redemption, consummation. And so it's telling us the historical points to point to a redemptive narrative. So much time has passed. Both Adam and Eve have children, two grown children, at least two grown children. Probably more, because as the details we'll see afterwards. But Cain and Abel both offer a sacrifice to the Lord. Now, why do they offer sacrifice? Had God told them prior that they needed to for sin? Perhaps it's innate within them that they realize because of sin that they must sacrifice. We're not given those details, and we're not given the detail of why God rejects Cain's offering and not Abel's. But he does. Some have speculated because Cain's was grain and fruit and Abel's was the fat of the flock. But I think there's something deeper here, and that is why each person was sacrificing. I think Abel's reflects that he was sacrificing to get something from God, because his response is one of anger when the Lord rejects his sacrifice. He doesn't say, Lord, is it because I offered you grains? Is it because I don't understand the meaning of sacrifice? No, he gets angry and seeks to kill his brother because God accepted his sacrifice. And the Lord even says to him, to Cain, before he commits this murder, seeing his heart. We see the omniscience of God there. Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? So we have to remember, people could be angry at, they're mad about God being mad, right? So God rejects his sacrifice, and that does tear him up, but it doesn't tear him up to repentance, to seek to please God. It makes him seek to get vengeance upon his brother who God approves of. God says to him, if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? So he tells him, you can make this right. But he doesn't. But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door, and it desires to have you, but you must rule over it. And I think the point of this passage is to show the exceeding sinfulness of sin. Very quickly after the fall, it doesn't take, hundreds or thousands of years for society to get bad, to sin to corrupt society. We see it take place right in the children of Adam and Eve. The fall is immediate, and its effects are total. The depravity in mankind is now complete or total in his mind, in his heart, in his actions. He does not seek the good, but he is self-seeking. And so Cain here, rather than heed God's warning, he beguiles his brother to go out to a field and slays him. And again, I think the large point to realize here is that so often we fall into this trap as humans of thinking we could somehow run from sin, that we could somehow be in a place, in a city, in a state, in a little community that is free from sin. I don't want to be around these people. They're too sinful. And so, of course, there's certain truth, right? There are certain cities and areas and towns, perhaps there's more crime, this and that, hey, I don't want to deal with that. Sure. But you're never going to run from sin. So if you're moving, or you're saying, hey, I'm going to go to be with this church or move to this state because there's no sinners there, I got news for you, right? It wasn't just the bad society. It wasn't just hundreds of years of certain political policies bringing about sin. This is innate in man. But sin is crouching at all of our doors, but we must rule over it. And this really the history of humanity is they haven't ruled over it. And we can't rule over it unless we turn to Christ to rule over it. So let's stop there for time's sake today, and we'll look at more of Genesis chapter 2 or chapter 4 tomorrow.